Today I want to make a review of all of my photographs, what I made with this 501c Hasselblad from my short trip to Hamburg. I made all of 9 prints, so you can say it's kind of a finalized work from this trip. I will show my thought process behind the photograph itself, some decisions what I make with the printing, what I saw in reality, and what is actually I have as a print. I will describe like what prints I like, what prints is not really good, and what I like and don't like about the colors corrections what I made and what I can actually correct in future, to put all the notes in my lab book and make a decisions if I want to reprint them or make some adjustments, maybe make some crops on top of the prints. So yeah. So let's start from the first print. I made this print mostly just I want to start the roll, just start shooting. I don't know why, but for me, usually or sometimes it's a problem to make a first shot on a roll if it's especially for some reason medium format. So on this frame, I really want to show the late autumn colors here. Unfortunately, this is Portra 400 and it doesn't really work well with the overcast day, so it's not enough texture here, and probably exposure was a little bit off. So because I don't have any details in the sky, and the colors here in the trees, it's unfortunately don't really there. So I just missed the colors here, and I can say this is just travel shot. Not really interesting, nothing more or less happening here. Too much empty space in this region, so I don't really like what is actually happening. And this tree is more or less gone, so I have no details there. And on this region, it's mostly black. So the exposure latitude here is like not enough. It's not enough to make a good print. So the next print, this is a really good view. It's all about the atmosphere of the city. I really like the cities on water. So if I have like bridges, if I have any type of the water communication inside the city, I really like the city in general. So here I just want to make a photograph and showing the bridge and showing the small ships here. And on this print I try to save these blacks, but unfortunately these blacks I don't have them on the film itself. So I'm shooting only with the handheld meter, so I cannot meter just spots on the print to expose for the deep shadows here. So maybe in future I can make a burn for the sky to bring up the blues. So I have a little bit of blue here, but I think it's just not enough. And the picture is atmospheric picture is good, but also it's not really like special. Nothing special is actually going on here. But it's a good practice to find the exposure latitude on these points and find a little bit of details like in sharpness in this region. So all of the shots more or less was shot with a hyperfocal length, so it was focused kind of on infinity, close to infinity, with the f8 to f11. So with the negatives you can see like a lot of details, but it's not a lot of details actually here in this small paper. You can, I think, print like 5 times bigger, 10 times bigger from the Hasselblad, so it's easy to enlarge this print. But I think you can get really good digitalization copy of your medium format file from this one. So the next frame, this is a new area, kind of relatively new in Hamburg. It's a lot of business places there, and this is kind of a famous look. I have a few shots made from this bridge, and this is opposite side of this building. So I like the composition here. I like the lines. I really like the connection of the old buildings here with the new building. So I really like this like water fountain here, which is going from the building itself. So don't really like the muted colors. Unfortunately, I lost the bright yellows here. It was really bright day, and the picture here looks a little bit dull. So I don't know why, but I don't have a lot of details here in the bricks, and probably it's too warm. I try to get the colors here, but I have a little bit of overcast of blue here, and this part it's a bit yellowish, so I can see it now. It was not so obvious when I printed, but maybe I need a bit like be more careful with the corrections, or just probably it's a bit overexposed. So but I really like the composition here, and this kind of like small details here on top of this like micro roof what I have in this this picture. So then next shot was quite tricky. It was not easy to print and not easy even to shot. So I lost almost all the details here. At that point, when I made this print, I never tried the dodging and burning techniques, but probably it's a good idea for this print because I exposed for the shadows here, and I still have a lot of sky. So as you can see here, sky is blue and it's really nice. Unfortunately, I don't have any details in the sky because it was like bright day, like nothing happening in the sky. So I want more details here. So I want a detail on the bridge. I want to check the colors here. Probably it's a good idea to make a split, you know, make a V-cut with a card and just make a separate exposures and try to save these details in the shadow, because the shadows here looks too much like dull, and I'm losing a picture a little bit. So I have the same picture on 35mm in the day and at night, and this is more detailed. But unfortunately, I don't see any big difference in the medium format here because it's only like sharpness difference. But with the exposure latitude, probably I have a little bit more, but I have a problem just directly printing it with the higher exposure latitude on the print itself. So next print, it's actually close by in the city. I really like the different types of, you know, the form of the architecture here. The whole idea, what I wanted, what I want to frame here was this building with a kind of a column here, and it should be absolutely like parallel to the frame side. So as you can see, I really like the Hasselblad just because it's like ideal. So the lens there, it's 80mm and it's pristine. I have like zero like, you know, aberrations here. It's not bended. The all architecture, all lines actually looks just like perfect. This is one of the like huge and biggest advantages of the Hasselblad system with the Zeiss lens, because it's create such a, like, you know, rendering of the lines and perspective and the volume. It doesn't matter if it's architecture or it's a portraiture, so it's completely different type of like look how the sharpness and details works in the shot. So probably here I missed a little bit with the color, so it's a bit magenta on this region. It should be more gray. It was strange color in real life, but I can see here on the grayish parts I have a little bit of magenta cast. Probably it was off just with the temperature, because the final print doesn't really look the same as the test prints a bit. Maybe I just make an error with the temperature, you know, start developing too fast and temperature was a bit low. So this is kind of a you know, common mistakes, but because it's a hand prints directly from the negatives, you know, it happens. It's not a big deal, not a big problem. And if you make a digitalization, you can correct it a little bit, so if you want. So this is next print, and as you can see, this is the same building what we saw on this print. So as you can see, this is the same bridge what I make a picture from this picture. So I stand there and make a picture in this direction, and I like this picture more. So this picture have a much more details. I really like the composition. Probably I need to bring the highlights here back, because at the moment it's just, you know, white sky. Maybe I have a little bit of blue there. So if I burn the sky here, make a, you know, frame for the burning and create a burn on the sky, I will get a more bluish like details in the skies here. But I really like the details and the dynamic range. I saved almost all of the shadows here, and I see all the details on the bricks, in the edges, and here and there. I really like the central composition of the building here, and this type of, you know, framing lines which is going in the center, and it's not symmetrical, which I also like. It's kind of a crooked on the one side, and you have a, you know, design of the architecture here in the same fashion, so it's a bit shifted to the right side, and you know, it's not fully like crossing lines here. And it's a lot of details here in the water. So I really like the picture. This is probably like saver picture. Like really like how it goes, and the colors and this overcast sky close to the evening, a little bit yellowish here. So this is really good picture. I really like it. This picture also was not easy to print directly from the negative. So here I tried to save a lot of shadows in this area. It was bright day. As you can see, the sky is really good. So the sky, I really like exposure on top of the sky. It's blue, it's good rendering, it's great separation here. I try to save a lot of details here on the skyscraper here. So it's Der Spiegel, it's, you know, newspaper here in Germany. So, and I like to save all the details in the shadows. Unfortunately, I cannot print all of them. I have all of them in a negative. Probably just direct scan of this negative will work better. So I don't really like this, you know, magenta yellowish cast in this like shadow area. But the colors here and blues here looks really good. So it's actually strange. Maybe the dodging and burning, you know, change the sensitivity of the layers a little bit, and you have a little bit of color cast, color shift here. Maybe this is a reason. So, but also I like this print. Cannot say it's kind of a keeper like a previous one, but this one more or less I really like. At least the composition is good. So I want to build up the line in the frame like this and create, you know, Sharpie point with the architecture. So in future, I actually want to try to make a, you know, lines correction, tilt and shift correction with my enlarger, but I don't really have a perfect object for this type of things. So I need a like shot with a, you know, banded lines, but as you can see here, it's almost parallel to the picture, so it's almost perfect like from the beginning, from the Hasselblad. So the next shot, it's close to the evening. It's actually second day. I unfortunately have a little bit of defects here on the print, so it's a little bit bluish. Quite interesting. The last batch of paper what I used, it was like defected with a yellowish kind of a cast, and here it's a little bit bluish. I think it's just a problem of safe light what they use before they cutting the paper. So if you frame it, I think it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. I can see it a bit, but it's not a like big defect here. Anyway, the print's not really mounted, so you can fix a lot of things around it. So the picture, I really like feel a little bit different about this picture, because in reality it was a lot of contrast, a lot of bright, you know, overcast fog and sky around this building. So idea was to like create, you know, moody, a little bit of moody street here, but you can get a little bit of portion here. So you have a kind of a like fog here and the light going through the fog, but unfortunately it's not the same what I imagined. So it's a bit different. I try to save the details here and there to, you know, centralize composition a little bit. Otherwise it's too much contrast and I'm losing details in this part of the picture. So don't really cannot say, like, I don't really cannot say it's like good picture, bad picture. It's just a picture. So the central portion I really like. Maybe it's a good idea to make a crop on top of the picture, you know, to make a 2x3 shot like this with a good portion and just remove all of these things from the picture. So it's actually quite good part to imagine how this picture will look better if you crop something like this. Maybe it will be a little bit better. So if you print the whole frame but cropped like this. So I don't know. And the last print for today, this print from Harbor in Hamburg. Really like the atmosphere, really like the lines, how this kind of a recreation area where you can sit. I like the person sitting there, which is kind of a describing the whole situation, like how it looks like in reality. I really like the eagle here, like not eagles. And the last print, so I really like the geometry, and the last print, so I really like the geometry of this print. So I try to save the sky here because the contrast is really high with a bright day. Maybe it was a good idea to use a polarizer or use a different type of, like, you know, grading filter to filter it even from the beginning on the negative. It will be much easier to print. So I have exposure latitudes, you know, to capture all the parts here, but personally I prefer to work with the shadows here because I'm trying to not like lose all the blacks there because it's, you know, pulling all the attention to the blacks here. So I really like the person sitting here, the like bird flying around the shot, and the all lines, which is kind of a centering. And I really like this kind of a contrast of the lights, you know, so because this sky is a little bit overcast here, but I have a evening light and it's splitting the shot here and create a track, which is kind of there, but not really. But the interplay with the darks here and whites here and the blue sky, like I really like how it works. And you can easily see the sharpness there. So sharpness in the picture is like really high. So this shot more or less I like. It was a lot of like errors when I printed. For some reason I have like few defects, like few lines here in the sky. Probably it's just because it's twice of exposure and it's, yeah, you know, it's too much. You cannot push a lot, you cannot push too much. And when it's like thin negative, you can starting to see some, you know, dots, which is dust spots. So I have like one here and one there. So it's small, but I think if you print it bigger, you will see it more clearly, and it's not really easy to retouch anything on a color print like this.